Welcome back to the Den of Nerds. I am Josh, and we need to talk about this new Thunderbolts trailer. Oh man, this looks so cool. We got our first look at the Sentry and the Void, and I'm absolutely certain that you have some questions. Maybe you're out there like, who is that guy exactly? Or maybe you know that that's the Sentry, but you're kind of confused as to how and why he's turning people into dust. Well, in this video, I'm going to break it all down for you, and using the powers of being a gigantic freaking nerd, we will go over every frame of this trailer, talking about the comic book backstory to these different characters, explaining what's probably going on in the film, and cueing you into all the hidden details and Easter eggs that you missed. And oh man, I'm really excited to get into this one. This is such a cool trailer, and Marvel went super nerdy with this thing. So the trailer begins with this shot of the New York City skyline, and we can see dead center Avengers Tower. But we can also see that Avengers Tower now has this spire on it. And we'll see shots of this later on in the trailer, but this is clearly the watchtower for the Sentry. Obviously, we're going to talk about Sentry in this trailer, as you can see him later on, and he's doing crazy shit. Well, this first shot and this spire, this watchtower, is famous from Marvel Comics when it comes to the Sentry. Now, in the original run of the Sentry by Paul Jenkins and Jay Lee, a middle-aged fat guy that vaguely remembers something important about his past stumbles upon this place called the Watchtower. This man is Bob Reynolds, and he slowly discovers that he was actually a famous superhero in the past known as the Sentry. And this watchtower is central to that story. It's a relic of his past, and inside his watchtower, he discovers the truth about himself and regains his power. Later on, this watchtower is recreated on top of Avengers Tower, created by Tony Stark when he recruits the Sentry to join the Avengers in the 2005 New Avengers run, and it's later recreated by Norman Osborn when he creates the Dark Avenger. Both Tony Stark and Norman Osborn know that the Sentry is a troubled individual. Tony Stark creates the watchtower so that the Sentry has a place to go be alone, because he's insane and his other half, the Void, killed his own wife and is ridiculously powerful and like a crazy liability. But hey, he is a really cool big gun. Back to the trailer. Get into this shot here, which is either at some kind of congressional hall or the United Nations. Looks like this is just American flags, so probably some congressional body. It's also possible that this scene is actually in Washington, D.C., because we already know that this movie doesn't completely take place within New York City. But either way, we have the character of Val here addressing this congressional body. She says, "Let's talk facts. The Avengers are not coming." This voiceover continues into different parts of the trailer as Val asks this body who will protect the American people. As she is making this point, we get more shots of New York City, and a lot of this is covered in darkness. And look at how some of the buildings are being contorted and are falling apart in this sequence. And then we cut to shots of debris from different buildings falling on different people. And as Val is asking who will keep the American people safe, we get a shot of Sentry, or rather the Void, literally turning people into shadows. Holy shit. This is some of the craziest and darkest stuff I have seen in a Marvel anything in a long time. So now we have to go on another comic book TLDR to explain how powerful the Sentry and the Void really are. They're like reality warping strong. I've seen the Sentry turn the Molecule Man into his bitch in comics, and that's just like absolutely absurd. Like, the Molecule Man is ridiculously powerful, almost unscalably powerful. It was insane. I've also seen panels where the Sentry rips his own skull in half and continues to talk and fight as a floating brain and eyeballs. At times, the Sentry is just seen as like a Superman-like figure, just a dude that can fly around, shoot laser beams, and punch real hard. But in all actuality, Sentry is way more than that, and he's more like Dr. Manhattan from the Watchmen comics or movie than he is like Superman. Like, Sentry's absurd, and they're putting it on full display very early on in this trailer. Now, interestingly, Bucky is at this presentation with Val. Again, we're not 100% sure if this is New York or Washington, D.C. It's, of course, so damn cool that Bucky is a big part of this movie. He's going to be recruiting these Thunderbolt characters together to try to stop Sentry, which we'll see later on in the trailer. Bucky is an Avenger. He was an Avenger in the prime of what that team was doing. He's also a super soldier, and so he can relate to the people on this team, and he can relate to Bob Reynolds himself. And later on in the trailer, they do that anime kind of a thing where the very powerful character, as Bucky in this example goes to throw a punch to the other powerful character in Sentry, which is cool. We cut to a shot of Bucky as he's saying there's some big threat out there. And then we cut to another shot of this darkness of the void spreading. And you can notice how the watchtower, the spire of Avengers Tower, is at the center of this thing. For whatever reason, the void and Sentry and whatever they're doing is happening around Avengers Tower. Then we get a shot of the team actually all tied up. And you can even notice that a character like John Walker has been tied up with bended metal rebar. Because, of course, John Walker's real freaking strong. He has the super soldier serum. The point is they are all properly detained. And I would expect this happens after the first events of them coming to the tower and meeting up with Bob and then Val trying to kill them. But the point of this scene is that Bucky's telling all of these captive people that they're now going to help Bucky stop this big threat. And the big threat is, of course, the Void and the Sentry. They're all like, what? And he's like, yeah, why? You got someplace to be? Then get a little montage of the team with Yelena saying, so none of us fly? What? We all just punch and shoot? Which is kind of funny commentary. I mean, they are just all super soldiers that don't do really anything too crazy, I guess, other than ghosts. Cut to a shot of Val in a limousine talking about how she can't think of a worse group of people trying to work together. Then we cut to this sequence here, which is really interesting. It looks like Florence Pugh with a gas mask on, and I believe she is transporting Bob as a prisoner. And she shoots a bunch into John Walker, who's like, no, stop, it's me, it's John, stop. Elena's like, where were you? And he's like, where were you? And they're basically just fighting. But this implies something about the timeline of this film. Remember, they all initially come to this tower, not sure why. They have a sequence where they meet up with Bob, and I think at least Yelena will know that Bob is the target. And so this might be after that first initial encounter, after they get separated, when some of the defense things happen in the tower, like all the flames in that one room. This could possibly even be after some soldiers come in with all the red lasers and try to shoot everybody. But essentially, we know at some point in the movie, Yelena will get separated, John's gonna get separated, Yelena will have Bob as a prisoner, and then they're gonna meet up like this. We cut to some crazy looking base in the middle of the desert. Kind of looks like it's near the Grand Canyon or something, and I have no idea what this could be. But it looks like Yelena is there, and this kind of looks like maybe later on in the movie. We also know from the first trailer and later on in this one that there's a sequence in the desert where they're all in the car of the Red Guardian and they're avoiding all of those Humvees. So this could be from that sequence. Then we get this cool shot of Bucky pulling up, both guns blast and building explode. We get a shot of Ghost shooting blasty arrow into Taskmaster. By the way, it really does seem like Taskmaster's gonna die hella early into this movie. She's really not seen in a lot of it. And she has had 0 speaking lines throughout all this marketing, and I'm okay with it because honestly, terrible character. The MCU version of this character sucks balls. It was terrible in Black Widow. What the fuck are we doing here? Yeah, she should die immediately. I get a shot of Yelena saying to this dude, it's like your mind is somewhere else, and this is probably from like very early on because we see her like stealing some kind of super soldier serum thing. Get the shots of Bucky taking his arm out of the dishwasher. Shot of all of the soldiers with the red lasers as they're gonna come in and shoot it up. John Walker's like, oh damn. Bucky giving a motivational speech, and we cut to Bucky and the Red Guardian in some kind of big van, and they're really happy. Now in the middle of all of this sequence, we do get this shot of Yelena, and I think this is from very early on in the movie, and she has stolen some kind of material here. I bet this will end up being the Sentry serum, because in the comic books, the Sentry is created from a super soldier serum, except it's some kind of crazy, unique super soldier serum that gives Bob Reynolds like insane powers, the alter ego of the Void, like it's nuts. And then we cut to the shot of Bucky throwing a punch, and it gets caught by the Sentry. And this is, of course, a callback to when Spider-Man catches Bucky's arm. But this is different because Bucky has a vibranium arm here and seemingly is just as strong, if not stronger, than he was back then when he fought Spider-Man. So Sentry catches this fist, and it is wild as hell. Yelena's got that face like, oh shit, what? That's not good. And we hear Sentry say, you thought you were going to be some great saviors? And he throws Bucky's arm over to the other members of the Thunderbolts. We get a shot in the air of the Void in front of the tower. And the Sentry says, you can't even save yourselves. And that seems like it's probably going to be true. Then we get a shot of the Sentry. For just a little bit, we get to see his yellow costume and his blonde hair. And he uses his crazy powers to throw the Red Guardian out of the building. I wonder if that's RIP for the Red Guardian at that point. We cut to a shot of all of these guys walking out out of Avengers Tower. Looks like there's already been a lot of battle damage and they are exhausted. Yelena's like, we can't do this. No one here is a hero. Then we get a crazy speech from Red Guardian. He's saying, Yelena, when I look at you, I don't see your mistakes. Intercut with shots of John Walker being a terrible watcher of his child as he looks at social media posts about like his past and stuff. Red Guardian says that's why we need each other, and you do see the team kind of start to bond together at this point. Yelena's crying and saying, okay, that was really good, giving her dad's speech a big old approval. Then we get Red Guardian saying that we are the Thunderbolts, and Bucky's like, we can't call ourselves that. And again, I think the asterisk of the Thunderbolts name actually means New Avengers, and I almost think they'll change the name of the actual movie after about a week in theaters to New Avengers. And I know that seems wild as hell, but just wait, it might happen. We get more shots of the team fighting some goons. We get a shot of somebody visiting the Avengers Tower, and again, you can see the spire of the Watchtower. Then we cut to shots of them in the desert, actually driving that car. Red Guardian continues to be funny and talks about how they have the chance to be a really good team together. Get some shots back at Avengers Tower with the fire coming down in that room. This is likely when they are trying to kill Bob. We know from the first trailer, they all arrive in this room. They're investigating, looking at different things, and then the room locks down and this fire comes out. This is all probably just to try to kill Bob. Get another shot of Bucky being a badass, ripping one of those Humvees up into the air. Then we get a bunch of shots of all the characters making the team up with their names plastered vignette style on the screen. Pretty stylish, pretty cool. And we do get a shot of Sentry or the Void here taking a helicopter out, and he's literally just taking it out with his aura. This is some anime shit. This is crazy. More shots from the sequence in the first trailer with Bucky flipping over the Humvees and meeting up with this team here. Red Guardian's speech continues as they do heroic shit, including holding up this big piece of debris from crushing a bunch of people. This is all intercut with some action scenes from earlier on in the film. We get that really cool shot of Bucky flipping that moving van over these innocent people. And then we get these shots with Yelena walking into the dark, shadowy mist, and the team follows behind her. And then we get the title of Thunderbolts, bam! And the asterisk comes in. Again, I think it's gonna be changed to New Avengers. And we get a classic Marvel end cap comedy scene where Yelena's asking her dad if he slept. He says he'll sleep when he's dead, and then we get John Walker being like, I actually want to be alive, can somebody else drive? And then the last shot is when Bucky blows up that car and meets up with all of them. I think this is awesome. I cannot believe they actually have the Sentry this freaking strong in a Marvel movie. I have no idea how this team of misfits is going to compare to this godlike being. But there you have it. Super nerdy breakdown of everything that was in this trailer. And now you probably know a little bit more about the Sentry and the Void. And as I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day. And I'll see you in the next video.